Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Cozy Conversations. I'm really, really nervous. And thank you, Raksha, for taking this risk with me and coming to my first episode. So, one thing that I've noticed very recently in my Instagram is that people our age have become very inclined towards traveling. Like, I can see like a lot of beautiful travel pictures that people post on Instagram about traveling. And I did a research on this, and I came to know that according to a research that was done by Focusrite, it stated that 66% of millennials consider traveling to be a very important thing in their life. And there was another research which was done by Boston Consulting Group, which stated that in case of millennials, they are 27% more likely to be inclined towards traveling than any other age group. So this is really, really shocking to me. Like, why is our generation so inclined towards traveling? And that is the reason why in this episode we have our guest, Miss Rakshya Agrawal. So she is an avid traveler, and she is a hospitality student at MS Ramaya. So, in case of Raksha, I especially wanted to call her for this episode because I've observed her work personally. And one thing that really intrigued me about her was that in the last year, that is in the year 2019, she took 12 trips in 12 months. Right now, also, I think she's in
Yeah.
Manali. She was traveling, and because the lockdown was called out very suddenly, she's there in Manali itself. And one thing that that really got me intrigued was, how did you manage all the finances despite being a student? Because 12 trips means a lot of money. So how did you manage all the
Yeah.
money?
First of all, I would like to thank you for appreciating me so much. Yeah, and coming down to 12 trip 12 months, I'm so glad you noticed that because yeah. So last year, in the month of January, I felt like, because I like traveling so much, maybe I could do something really different this year. So I thought, because I'm a student and I'm financially not that great, because obviously I'm not working, so I thought maybe I could do trips that would be really budget friendly for me, and my trips were not really long. So if I was going to a place, I was just there for a night or two. So according to me, it was not like I had to stay there for a month or 10 days. So coming to the entire history of how I started. So first of all, I looked up for a part-time job for myself. So I started working for events, and I only had to work on weekends. So I was working as a PR. Being a student, I had to work from 8 p.m. to 1 p.m., which was quite hectic. But then, instead of going and having fun with your friends in weekends, I thought that maybe I could go and work instead. And I was also enjoying the work. So yeah, that is how I did my financial part. Secondly, I also started hitchhiking. So for me, I always used to like see videos and watch movies where people used to hitchhike, and then I thought maybe even I could do that. And then I thought, oh shit, maybe being a girl in India, it wouldn't be that easy. But to my surprise, it was not that hard. Like, obviously when you want to hitchhike, you have to see like the person you're getting into the car with is a good person, and you shouldn't get into a car with a lot of guys in it. Like, I'm not generalizing anything, but it's just as a women's safety, I felt that. And secondly, I started traveling it was very budget traveling. So I was not going into hotels, I was not getting into resorts. I was carrying my own food. Like, I was carrying uh ready to eat food, like instant food, instant cup noodles. And I also, because once you travel, every tourist destination, the food is not below $300 or $400. Any, like, a meal would cost you nothing below $500. And I was like, oh shit, if I want to travel every month, I don't think I'd be able to do that. And coming from a middle class family, I don't think my parents would support me financially every month to go and travel. So I was like, this time I have to do it in a different way. I left out all my luxuries. I got out of my comfort zone. So instead of booking sleeper buses, I went into general tired train. And yeah, that's how I managed traveling. And coming to staying, I started staying in hostels. So if you start staying in hostels, you only pay like what, 200 rupees or 300 rupees per night, and you're getting everything. It's like, I would recommend staying in hostels for all the backpackers out there who don't really know about hostels. Like, there are a lot of hostels coming up in India, and they are so amazing. They charge very minimal and they give you everything. Plus, even when you're traveling alone, I feel like if you are staying in a hostel, you will find so many other travelers like you, and everything will just fall into place. So yeah, that is how I financially managed my trips last year.
Okay, so one really inspiring thing from your answer is how you managed to take on a part-time job to fulfill your passion for traveling. So you
Yeah.
worked so that you could fulfill your passion for traveling. That's really, really great. Now, even after having managed the finances, one thing that can be very difficult for college students is their attendance, because
That's
colleges
true.
and institutions are very, very strict regarding attendance
Yeah.
for all the right reasons. But how did you manage your attendance when traveling?
Okay, that's a very interesting question. A lot of my friends, they ask me the same question, and a lot of my juniors who see me traveling, they ask me the same question. And hey, how are you traveling? Because attendance is such a big issue in our college. Like you need to attend at least 8 out of 10 classes to get your attendance. So what I used to do was, okay, I hope none of my teachers are watching this. So so basically, if you show medical certificates, you get attendance. So I was not really interested into college anymore, because halfway through I realized ki, maybe this is not what I really want to do. Maybe I'm learning hospitality, but maybe this is not what I really want to do in my life. And I instead I want to travel. And I just found all the right reasons to, bunk. And every time I used to bunk, I used to get, like, my teachers used to be like, Raksha, you have really low attendance, you have to come and attend college next class and whatever. So I used to also I used to not bunk when I was in Bangalore. I used to never bunk. I used to always attend all the classes, and I used to strategically plan that if I take 2 days off, maybe this will not hamper my attendance. And like I told you, I don't travel for like 5 days or 6 days straight. I should just taken off for the weekend, or maybe like 3 days in a row. For me, the plan was just to get out of my comfort zone and to see a new place, maybe for a day or two. It didn't matter. Time didn't matter for me. So yeah, I mostly took long trips during my weekends, or during. So I remember, so I had 2 months of holidays last year, and I was at home, and I really wanted to travel, but I could only travel in Nepal. I couldn't really go out. And and then I came to Bangalore, and my college was supposed to start in 4 or 5 days. And luckily, my birthday was also falling on the same time when my college was about to reopen. So I was like, Raksha, maybe you could just do something interesting this time. Maybe you could travel to a different place and not come back for a week. And I booked my ticket to Andaman, and it was a solo thing for me, and everything was so different. Just a day before, an hour before my flight, I was scared. I was like, okay, I think I need to go back with my suitcase to my house, because I'm not ready to do this. Because obviously, because I have not I at that time, solo traveling was really new to me. And I was like, shit, I'm traveling overseas, and they say that there's no SIM card, there's no network, it's my birthday, do I really want to be here? And then I left all my insecurities behind, and I hopped on the plane. And then I missed a few classes as well. But then when I came back, everything was worth it, because these are the times that you will never get. And now I will always remember my 21st birthday, because I was alone in a place I never thought I would be, right? And classes was something that I could always manage. I could always tell them that I was, I always told them that I was not well, or maybe I was always attending classes. When my friends used to bunk after Saturday night or Sunday night, they used to stay at home, not go to college. I had to go to college. Like, even though I was exhausted, I had to go to college. So yeah, that's how I did it. Yeah,
So yeah, one again, a very important thing that I take away from your answer is where there is a will, there is a way. So if you really want to do something,
that's true.
you'll find out ways to do it. Given that you are into solo traveling, as you already said, and solo traveling as a woman in the South Asian context could be very, very difficult. So what is there any worst experience, or is there any experience that you deem as worst in all your travel experiences?
I wouldn't really call it as my worst experience, but I remember this was my first solo traveling. I was going to Udaipur. Out of all the places, I chose Rajasthan, and then I thought that maybe I just go to Udaipur. And it was my first time, so I was really, really, really nervous, but I was like, no, Raksha, you can do it. So yeah, I took my luggage and I went to Udaipur, and then I was staying in a hostel. Everything was good, but that evening I had to explore, and I couldn't really make any friends in the hostel because there was no one. It was off season, I guess. Yeah. And it was really hot, everything. So, when I walked out of my hostel and when I went to the lake, there were hundred of guys staring at me, and they were wondering, what is this girl doing here alone? And then when I was in an auto, the guy was like, madam, why are you here alone? Like, he started talking to me, and when I told him that I'm solo traveling, he was kind of shocked. And then he told me that I don't think Udaipur is a place for you to solo travel, which I couldn't really connect to because everything was okay for me. But till the time I went to Lake Pichola, I noticed that there were a few bunch of guys who were following me around, and I was pretty nervous. I rushed back to my hostel, and I was like, oh shit, I don't think I'm gonna get out of my hostel tomorrow, and I'm just gonna go back to Jaipur. But then overnight I realized I am not here for this. I'm not here to get scared by men. I'm here to solo travel. And if you're traveling solo, you have to be ready for whatever comes to you. You cannot get scared and go inside your nutshell again, because that is not what I was there for. I wanted to explore myself. I wanted to see how do I react in such situations. I cannot run. So next day I got all suited up. I got all dressed up with my backpack, and then I explored entire Udaipur without any. I was not scared anymore. I was like, if I knew that men were following me, I did not do anything. I was not scared. And to my surprise, there were men who were staring at me, following me, even including my cab driver. He was giving me really weird looks. But when I started talking to him and I told him that I am here solo traveling, there was a sudden moment of respect that I could, I could connect to it, because he was. And then he started respecting me. He was like, wow, I'm so happy that a girl like you, who is just in college, is here. And that too, India is a new place for me. I mean, yeah, I am from Nepal and I've been living in India for the past 6 years, but still some places are new for me. And just that way, that guy was so good to me, and and then he was like, I will take your responsibility and I will show you around. So to my surprise, I was actually making friends, like not just backpackers, but who I thought was not good for me, and who I thought was is a very creepy cab driver, was actually not a creepy cab driver. After I told him my story, he started respecting me, and yeah, everything changed. After that, I realized that everything is in the mind. If you think that you are scared, and if you think that people are harmful for you, they will be, even if they're not, you will start thinking that. So after that, I just I'm not scared anymore. Yeah.
So I think one very important learning from this is that when you share your stories with people, even your worst moments do not seem that worse. And in your case, even your worst moment turned out to be like a blessing in disguise for you. So
That's true. Yeah.
that's really really good to hear. So what is your best travel experience so far?
Okay, that is also an interesting question. I don't think I can really pick out my best traveling experience, because all of them have been really beautiful in their own way. Even if my 2-3 days trip were so different, I made a lot of friends. I got to know got to know about a lot of people. But I would say that Andaman was a very different experience for me, because I thought even if I'm solo traveling, I would just do it near like somewhere in South India or North India. I never thought that I'd be taking a plane overseas, which is a part of India, but it felt like, yeah. So when I went there, to my surprise, I mean, I was really scared, because as soon as I landed, the weather was really bad. Nothing fell into place, because my airlines got 5 hours delayed, and I was scared. So I met this cab driver, and he was a Bengali, and he was really good to me. I told him my address, and he dropped me to my place. And and then he was like, I am always there for you. If you need any help, I would see you as a sister. And throughout my journey, my hotel managers, because there are no hostels in Andaman, I had to settle down for a low budget hotel. All of them, they were so good. I mean, after it used to get dark at 5 or 6, so I used to just rush back to my hotel. And then because I was really scared, because it's an island and I don't know anybody, and everything was scary for me in the initial days. So the manager of my hotel, he told me that till the time you are scared, people would scare you. So he told me that, Raksha, go out, come back at 9, come back at 10, go see Andaman. Don't be scared. And that is when I realized, oh shit, I have to go see what is there for me. And then he also told me that because it's your birthday, you should go try um deep sea diving, which was also very interesting. Yeah, so I think that when you're traveling, you really need to trust people, because if you don't trust people, you would again be in that nutshell where you're always insecure that this person might not be right for me. So in that trip, I left all my insecurities behind. I was just out there ready to accept whatever was going to come on my way. It was not easy for me, but it was not difficult as well. Everything was good for me as long as I was ready to accept it. So yeah, Andaman was a very beautiful experience for me, and I think I will always remember Andaman.
So one again very important learning from your answer is the ability to trust people. So when you're going out and traveling, maybe one quality that you'd like to develop in yourself is the ability to trust people, because when you're going and traveling, you're not only looking at places, but you are also getting an opportunity to connect to people, and you should make the
That's
most out of that opportunity. So as I already said, I can see that a lot of millennials are being inclined towards traveling. Why do you think is this the case? Like, because you might have met a lot of travelers in your journey of life, so why do you think are millennials getting more and more inclined towards traveling, and why do you think is this tendency more in our generation than in our previous generations?
okay. So I got this thing for traveling from my dad. My dad loves traveling, and I remember as a child, he used to take me to a lot of places. Every time he used to take me to places in Nepal, places in India. And that is how I developed a liking towards traveling, because that is when I realized there is so much out there to see in this world. And I think millennials are so much inclined towards traveling because of social media. I feel like like I myself, when I scroll through my Instagram, I see so many places, and then I get this thing in my mind that, oh shit, I want to go and see this place. And then with traveling comes food. So people who are into food now, there's a lot of people who I have seen, they travel for food. They want to see what places offering what cuisine. Some people travel for fashion. They want to go to different places and see how fashion works. And then there are some people like me who are into exploring new places. And I feel like this generation, like millennials, we have so much things going on in our mind that we think that we need a break. And when we take that break, we realize that this is what we want to do in our life. Maybe, like for me, example, I remember I did my first traveling when I was in college, like with the mind of a traveler. I thought that this was going to be my break from busy schedule of college. And when I did that, I realized, oh shit, maybe this is something that I can do and make money out of, and this is something that I love to do. Maybe talking to people, clicking photos, making videos, uh, writing blogs about it. That is what gave me real happiness. So I think millennials are more creative. And I'm not saying that our last generation was not. I'm sure they are. That is why I developed this liking. It was because of my father. But I think nowadays people are they're coming out. They are they are trying new things. They're being creative with themselves, which is a very good thing. And I'm very proud of all of us. Yeah. So I think that is why.
So I think a very, very important learning from your answer is that maybe it is the social media that has also opened various avenues for us these
That's
days.
true.
When we look at social media, and when we look at various people traveling, and when we look at there's so much out there to see in the world, people automatically get very inclined to explore those things for themselves and see those things for themselves, as a result of which traveling has increased. And there's also another change in trend that can be clearly observed, like these days millennials are not into luxury travels, or they do not go to the most touristy destinations, but we can also find millennials going to the most remotest of places. Even if that means that it is going to accompany a lot of inconvenience, they still go to the remotest of places, and they are seen like exploring the unexplored. Why? How is this changed? How is this trend changing? Like, what is the reason behind this change?
I feel like, again, I feel like social media has a very important part to play in this, because there are so many places that we are not aware of. We are only aware of hotspots, and we have only been to hotspots. But being in Himachal, I did not know anything about Himachal. I came to Manali last December, and that is when I realized, wow, there is so much beauty which I did not explore. And when I came, yeah, it was just 7 days of Manali, and then I went back. This time my trip was to go to Punjab and then come to Himachal. But yeah, due to some unavoidable circumstances, I got stuck in Manali, and which I will not say that I'm stuck. I'm actually fortunate enough to be in such a lovely place. Now that I'm here, I am getting to know so many things about this place that I think a traveler would not know if the person is just here for 7 days or something. And then I went to so many small villages that is near to Manali, which I had no idea about. So, once you start traveling, you get to know places which is not in the spotlight. Like, there are so many villages, there are so many places people don't know because they are they only know about the hotspots. And I think social media has a very important part to play in this, because if I am going to a place that is a very isolated place, maybe I would post it on my Instagram, and that is how other people are gonna see, and they would want to go there. So yeah, that I feel like social media is a very it has a very huge part to play in this. That is how I travel. I mean, first I look up places that are unexplored near Manali, and then I see places, and then I feel like, okay, I need to go here. It's all because of social media.
So again, a very important learning from this is that social media has left no place untouched. So whenever,
Yeah,
wherever, and how,
that's true.
no matter how isolating a place might feel, like once you're there, you can click a picture and you can put it on your social media, and it's not isolated anymore. Like people are free to explore it,
That's true.
and then people develop that tendency that, okay, maybe I should go and check that place out for myself. So when you travel, there could also be a lot of emotional baggage that you carry along with yourself, like because there's a lot of memories. Like at this point of time also, I'm very much sure that you must be making a lot of memories in Manali, and hopefully when the lockdown gets over, you'll go back to your place, and then at that point of time, you could feel very sad and very melancholic, looking back at all the memories that you've made, and okay, you could be feeling very sad that, okay, now I have to leave this place. So how do you deal with such feelings?
Yeah, that is so true. I mean, if I am traveling and when I go back to where I stay, I feel sad for 2 3 days. I used to feel sad. I used to feel very low. I used to feel like, oh shit, I am back here. I need to go to college tomorrow. I need to do my assignments tomorrow, and I'm not in the same beautiful place as I was. But during my last trip to Manali, it was a very big learning for me. When I came back, when I went back to Bangalore, I was not sad, because when I was there, I had accepted the fact that this is not forever. I have to go back home. This is very momentary, but what I am learning while I'm traveling, I have to carry it with me when I go back. Because if I go back and if I'm sad and if I'm depressed, then it doesn't make any sense, because I am traveling to make myself happy. But if I'm coming back and if I'm being even more depressed, that shit, I left that place, and yeah, that is very sad. I mean, so now I've accepted that if I'm traveling, there will be a time when I have to go back home. And when I go back home, I am happy to share my stories with others. It's like I live those memories again and again without being sad. And then I plan ahead. I feel like, okay, now that I'm here, to go to some other place, I have to leave one place, right? So if I hadn't left Manali back then, I wouldn't be here again, right? So yeah, this is a big learning for me. Before, I used to get really sad, I used to get depressed, I used to be like, shit, I was in such a beautiful place and now I'm back home. But now I am happy to go back home and share my experience with others, and then I prepare myself to come back again. So yeah.
Okay, that again is a very, very important learning. It's like accepting that when you're traveling, things are going to be momentary, can be very, very helpful
Yeah,
for people to
that's
get
true.
over that feeling of sadness once once you have to leave a place. So with traveling, a thing that accompanies you is instability, because when you're traveling all the time, you're not very stable. So it could be very difficult for people to find a way to make money out of traveling. How do
Mhm.
you manage to do that? Like, how have you thought of your future, or how have you thought of making money by traveling? Because this is something your passion is. So can traveling also be made into a job or something? Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, so even I am in a dilemma, but if I would be able to make money out of this. But for now, what I am doing is because I like traveling. So sometimes I don't really have the money to travel. So I start volunteering in hostels. So if I'm working in a hostel, the hostel would ask me to work 4 hours or 5 hours for them. It would be check in, check out, writing blogs for them, taking their guests for a tour or something. And that is how I get my stay and my food free. So 50% of, I would say 70% of my cost over there is done. Right? I just have to pay for my transportation, which is not that expensive. So that is what I used to do till now. But after I graduate, maybe I would want yeah. So after I graduate, maybe I would want to explore a little. Maybe I would like to take a year off from uh, my life, and I would like to come to Himachal, and I would like to make myself. I would like to write blogs. I would like to create a profile. I would like to improve my skills. I would like to do all of that, and then I would want to work as a freelancer for companies or freelancer for such hostels. So maybe I thought that maybe I think that maybe that can be a start for me. First I need to work on my skills, and then I think I can go to people and then work for them. And then later sometime maybe I want to open my own website, and I would like, and my main aim is to share information. I just want to share information in a very creative way. Like if I am traveling to a place, if I learn something new about that place, I would love to share that information to people, and I would be more than happy to get money out of it. If I'm getting money out of it, I would be more than happy. Yeah. So I still have to figure out ways to. But yes, there are so many travel bloggers, travel writers who I have met on my journey who are actually earning out of traveling. So yeah, even I would love to do the same someday.
That's really, really amazing to hear. Like you are trying to explore ways through which you could make sure that you're traveling and at the same time making money out of it so that your passion and what you do to make a living gets integrated. We are moving towards the end of this conversation. So, is there anything that you'd like to say to travelers like you? Like who have a passion for traveling but have not been able to execute it? Is there any tip, any suggestion, anything that you'd like to share with our audience who love traveling?
Yeah. So I would like to say, first of all, to all the girls out there or to all the men out there who are scared of solo traveling, please do not be. Even I was really scared. But once you are out there with your backpack, you don't need to carry a lot of clothes or a lot of I don't know, whatever you carry to travel. You just need to carry some courtesy, passion, and trust, because without that you cannot travel. If you do not trust people, if you're not acceptable to what is coming on your way, because traveling is not easy. With traveling comes a lot of emotions. There are a lot of things you have to struggle for. If you're hitchhiking, maybe it is not easy. It is not always easy, and maybe there are a few things that you need to know when you're traveling. You need to know that, okay, these are the things I have to do to make myself safe, make myself feel safe. And yeah, and I feel like you shouldn't be scared. Go travel, go see what there is out there for you, because you will never learn anything in those four walls. That is something that I have learned from my life. If there's anything that I've learned, is that in the last year I learned the most. 4 years of graduation, I did learn a lot about hotels, but about life I learned when I was traveling. So yeah, I was really, at first I was scared, but then later on I was very accepting to whatever is coming on my way, and that is what has made me feel so bold. And now I think I can trust people. It has also worked in my daily life, because now I feel like if I can go to this place alone, there are so many things that I can do it on myself, and I don't need anybody else for this. So yeah, I would tell the audience, to all everyone who's watching this, do not feel scared. There is so much more out there that is waiting for you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Raksha, for being a part of this episode. And I think I'm very, very inspired looking at you and how, like, at such a young age, you're doing what you're so passionate about. And I think one very, very important learning that I've taken from Raksha is the ability to accept and the ability to trust. So it's very important to be accepting of what the cons of your passion as well. With anything there are pros and cons, and with Raksha I think she's accepted both the advantages as well as the disadvantages of traveling very well. So that is something that I learned from you. And I think the other thing that I learned from you is your ability to trust people. So when you have to, like, when you're moving out of your comfort zone, you have to make sure that you're also being able to trust people, because and not only trust people but also trust yourself. You need to move out of your nutshell, you need to move out of that shell of your comfort zone, you need to be able to trust yourself and move forward with your life. And these two things are something that I've really really learned from you. Thank you so much for being a part of this interview and helping all of our audience who were uh, as curious as me about knowing like why are we so inclined towards traveling. Thanks a lot for being a part of this episode.
Thank you so much, Mahima. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. So until then, bye.